Welcome to Bowls and Beers, week 2 of the year on the air. We are listening to someone type. We are going to talk fall sports in general tonight. We have one more week until football starts in earnest. Actually, our football coverage for week 1 will start not too long after the show. We already have some articles pre-written and ready to go, and it's exciting. But one of the reasons we follow college sports is because there's a lot. It's not just football and basketball, even though that's what generally drives the interest. So we will be talking some football today because it is a fall sport, but we're going to talk a lot about other sports as well. And joining me this week is Matt and Zach. Say hello, guys. And we're missing Robbie, who had a last minute thing come up, and we're missing what was it? Was it Kevin had to go to sleep?
I don't know what Kevin's up to.
He works hard. This is late for the boys on the East Coast. We're watching the comments, the comments on YouTube, the comments on Bull Run, and if you want to tweet at us, go ahead and tweet at UB Bull Run. We'll try to follow through the day, through the program. But with 3 of us, it's kind of hard to always keep on top of things.
We'll do our best.
So Matt was once upon a time our Olympic sport czar.
Guru, I think, is the word we use, right?
I think that's underselling it. Matt used to do a weekly Olympic podcast with him and David Brand, which was basically Matt just dumping the entire news cycle.
The format could have been better, that's for sure.
They're like a deer in headlights.
Well, he was watching hocky.
That's right. He was watching the Sabres. That's right.
He would watch hockey and be like, Dave, cue me in for the next one. And I'm like, Dave, tell me to talk about soccer now. It was a choice in life. Yeah, that was
life is a series of compromises.
Yeah, that was then. That was then. I still have all the same passion for what I call the Olympic sports because I think that non-revenue isn't a nice thing to say. But I have been out of it for a few years, and so there was a time when I fancied myself, and I think it's fair to say I was the expert. I think I can get back there, but right now I'm just kind of waiting for stuff to happen. I can go back and look at the stats from last year. I can read recaps and stuff and write you posts. And then some of you know who you are, will just come and tell me that I'm wrong anyway, which I'll be wrong. That's fine. So it's coming. I had a plan for preview posts this week, and I said, you know what? I can't say anything real anyway. Women's soccer has already had an exhibition against Cleveland State, their yearly exhibition opponent. Volleyball's got an exhibition this week. We don't have men's soccer anymore. Yeah, they got it somewhere.
Yeah. I thought the exhibition was tomorrow, but I must be off by a week.
For volleyball or
for soccer, I thought it was tomorrow.
So soccer has had one already.
Okay.
And they usually have,
on top of this we are people.
Yeah, this is why we didn't write previews. Once this stuff gets going again, I'll pretty quickly get back up to the storylines of the season. I plan to be able to do a lot more than I have the last few years. Don't have it right now. Got to be honest, losing soccer, losing men's swimming, really put a damper in what I wanted to do the last couple of years. But Robbie's at Northern Kentucky, Stu Riddle's at Northern Kentucky. We'll kind of try to adopt them. The Fighting Stews. So this is kind of a reboot, but it's not coming with the same level of expertise we used to have. That's going to take some time to build back up.
Yeah, I mean, back in the day, we used to even cover the hockey team, the ACHA hockey team. So, where we're going to land on that, we don't know yet. But I think you hit on the head where when we lost those sports, especially men's soccer that was trending so well, it was kind of a punch in the gut. And I think we're just starting to get our feet back under us. And hopefully we give the other student athletes their due this season as we can. So the plan for tonight is about 5 minutes on several different sports, and then some housekeeping after, some sign-offs. But we often go off our plan, and if we do, let's just hope it's for an awesome reason. So let's kick things off with volleyball. We're gonna try the fancy view here, and Hey, it works ish. So volleyball is one of those sports that under Danny White was beginning to really trend. Was it Reed? I can't remember his last name.
Sunahara.
I got schooled by both of you. And the program was looking good. It actually generated a lot of fan interest. And Matt said something earlier that I wanted to touch on, but I forgot, which was one of the things I really like about this community is for those non-revenue sports, even though there's not a wide interest, there's always a few people on our site with a deep interest. So the fan shots are really good, and the comments on things are really good. So it's worth following if you like volleyball or wrestling or soccer. It's worth following what we do put up because usually there's some people a lot more knowledgeable than us on those sports who sat there and watched the event. So volleyball. We're under second year coach. Matt, you have to help me with coach's names tonight. That's the one.
Volleyball is Scott Smith, right? And he might be. I don't. Is he first year? When did
he's first year?
Yeah. I know she stepped away.
Oh, that's right. She stepped. That's right.
Yeah.
It was and like basketball, the program held together pretty good through the change.
Yeah. Well, he was an assistant under her, which is good. I think it's a huge recruiting class, right? Like almost no returners.
Yeah,
well, actually, 5 seniors are returning, right? For volleyball this year. But it was a huge class, and it was a very good class. It was considered to be one of the best 3 in the MAC by PrepVolleyball.com. So I think they were 3rd in the East last year. I don't know if they'll manage that again because there is a lot of turnover and a lot of players lost. But generally, you got to like the direction this program is going in.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going back to, the Sunahara years, like we really haven't had a down year since Sunahara. Like compared to where we were, what was that guy's name with all the allegations?
Was it Todd Kress?
Yep, Todd Kress. Todd Kress was going. He went 8-8 one year, and it was like the best year. It was the best year we ever had. It was so amazing that we qualified for the MAC tournament by getting in 8th on a tiebreaker, and we had all these arguments with people who said, blah blah blah.
Kress was left. It was like, oh, this is going to be the end of everything.
Since Sunahara, it's not been great. Last year, was it last year or 2 years ago? I went to see them in DC, and one of the women who transferred away just could serve like nothing, and really it was I think our best hitter since since the woman who was here into Reed Sunahara's year, whose name I can't remember at all. I'm so embarrassed. I thought she was our best hitter in a while, and she's gone. But like I think we've made the tournament almost every year under Blair Brown Lipsitz, and the MAC tournament that is, and it's not a women's soccer consistently top of the MAC, consistently maybe top 3rd of the MAC, but compared to the 10 years prior, I think the last 5 years have been great for volleyball.
Well, a 3rd finish is we talked about that with basketball and other sports, and that was kind of Danny White's guiding star. If you're up there in the top 4 in a sport each and every year, you're going to jump up and win. You're going to jump up and win some championships.
Yeah,
and that's pretty true. If this team can keep on that trajectory, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few years they're one of the favorites going into the MAC tournament.
Yeah, I don't know this. I wonder if this is a sport where you really have to be able to pull in 1 or 2 like high level talents. I just don't know because we've, I haven't paid attention to the rest of the MAC enough to know if I don't even know who's good. Northern Illinois, we'll say. If Northern Illinois is pulling in 2 or 3 people who are just better than everyone we've got recruiting buzz-wise. Kevin's a volleyball head. Maybe we should ask him that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, Paige is always very good. And the articles Paige put up this summer on the recruiting class and other things were really good reads.
He just had a good one today, too.
Did he? I haven't had a chance to look at the fan shots yet. If there's a good one, it'll be up on the main. It'll be up above the fold before I publish anything for football tonight.
Mhm.
All right. Now, volleyball games are now they were free. I remember one of the things that were changed is they're no longer free, but they're very affordable. And if you have kids who like volleyball and you're in front row, it's probably worth taking them to a game.
It's a good if they do cost money. It's one of your best like bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Like a quick volleyball match is still an hour and 15 minutes because there's a mandatory break after 2.
Mm-hmm.
It has, at a minimum, it's going to have 75 points of serving and returning. It's like it's a lot of movement. I think my favorite, like bang for my buck time wise, is wrestling, but volleyball is kind of the opposite.
Wrestling's up there too, as one where it's like.
It's quick. Wrestling is like get in there with short attention spans. It's broken up. Volleyball is great for like if you want to be out for a while and there's lots of action in it, and it's fun. It's high speed. It's people are jumping high and there's lots of noises. Like,
just
like that.
Gave me an awesome segue. So we go from high speed. Oh yeah, this annoyed me a little bit today on the website. I was trying to put together some quick notes for us to go over. And if you'll notice, the 21st is not a Saturday. So this is, and the only reason why I put this here is this is the kind of stuff I get called out for on comments on Bull Run, and I'm not paid. The actual date is the 24th is Saturday, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
so
that's correct.
At 1 p.m. at Alumni Arena. The Binghamton Bingos are coming in. That's not really their name, but
it might as well be.
Might as well be for an exhibition match against UB. So it'll be a good chance to see this year's team. Okay, now from fast to cross country, which is a different kind of fast. This is a sport that's very near and dear to my heart. I will probably be following it more closely this year than I have in years past, just because we're trying to spread the workload out. And this is a sport I get. I ran it when I was in high school. I coach it for youth cross country now, and I wasn't aware how good the men are set up for this year.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, the men are just in an absolutely fabulous position. Not only because if you look at it, they finished 4th, but 3 of the teams above them graduated. A lot of seniors, and UB's top. I only listed the top 3, but I think their top 4 runners are back, and they have a nice tight grouping. The year you see on here is the year they will be next year. So this year, Caleb is going to be a senior this year. Liam is going to be a senior this year, and Tom's going to be a junior this year.
Well, I gotta, Caleb Covell is absolutely the name to know. It'd be great if I could get to track and field. Caleb Covell. I want to say he was a walk-on.
He was.
There's not necessarily scholarship money in cross country, but he was someone who just kind of talked his way into saying, I can do the workouts, so I'll join the team. And he's like, you got it there, number 4 in the MAC.
Finished 4th in the MAC championship.
He's absolutely the best chance. Absolutely the best chance at an individual MAC title in cross country since the only one we've ever gotten, Zach Ahart, in about 2013. He's great on the track. He had an injury during 2017, I think. I want to double check if his track and field bio is different from his cross country bio. It's because why do they do this?
We've had fun with UB's new layout today. I understand why they went to it. Is it sidearm that they're using?
Yeah.
And I what I learned this week while Matt looks through that is that sidearm has a great statistics package. It's really good for people watching the game and following stats. But the website layout is like Pinterest had a baby with something that has the largest font you've ever imagined.
Well, it's
just really hard to follow.
The only information that I can tell you about Caleb Covell without really looking is that he got new glasses between his sophomore and junior year. So,
dig deep.
Dig deep. I mean, he's great. He's actually our best distance runner. He's someone who came in with, like I said, he's a walk-on. He's the rock of our team. The issue that men's cross country always has to deal with is they got to get their five scoring runners in as tight a pack as possible. That's something Eastern Michigan really excels at.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
It's something that's been the difference between finishing 4th and 5th in the MAC and finishing 2nd and 3rd for 5-6 years now.
Yeah, it's not the number 1 and 2 guys you got to worry about. It's number 4 and 5 bringing 30 seconds off their time to. I mean, what you really, you have 4, 13, and 33 here as a finish. That's not going to do it this year.
Yeah, it's got to be.
You need a 4, and you need 2 guys in the teens, and maybe a guy in the 20s.
Well, Eastern's going to have 3 in the first 10, right? So, I think you need 2 in the top 10, 4 before 15, and I think you need a 5th by 20 to win.
Now, Eastern is a year-over-year power. They do really well recruiting and developing talent. But they did lose a lot this year. They lost a metric ton of talent this year. So
that'd be great.
UB kept their top 4 runners. So they really could. There's no reason they shouldn't be better than 4th this year.
Yeah.
If the development, if they stay healthy, they're going to be solid this year.
I mean, I think men's cross country is our best bet for a fall MAC championship. And it always is nice to get a MAC championship in the fall. It just feels like the whole year.
Gets it out of the way.
Yeah, exactly. And on the flip side, and I need to let Zach talk more too. On the flip side, from Caleb Covell, kind of looking at the men's side, Sharday Henry, Brittany Fuller, our seniors. I remember when we were recruiting them and bringing them in was the last year that we were really doing Olympic sports stuff in depth, and they have just that you can see the numbers there. That's kind of what it's been for the women for a few years. Just that there was a year or two there where they seemed a little bit more on the upswing compared to the men, and it's just kind of plateaued for a bit. I don't know if there's much more to say than kind of what you got on the screen there.
Yeah, and Zach, do you got anything to add to this? Because it's when I looked at the women, I didn't realize we had finished last year, but on top of that, we lost our only top 50 runner.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend I know much about cross country, so I'll let you guys.
Oh, but you were doing so good. I mean, you had Caleb Covell walking on. Okay, all right.
I did know that because I knew that he was like a top runner for cross country and track. But other than that, it's about the extent of my cross country knowledge, to be honest.
And we're not going to judge you for that.
Is this the year that we're hosting regionals, or was that last year?
I think it was last year.
Last year. But...
the time just slips away.
You're married now. It's going to go way faster, man.
Sure. Well. Yeah.
All right. So that moves us now to football, and this was put together before tonight's news broke, but. So what I thought was going to be a relatively boring conversation around football, because not only did we talk a lot about it last week, but we have next week's whole show for it. Penn State came out 15 in the AP poll. I think they're 14 in the coaches poll. This is looking like murder bowl. I hate to say it like that. Any given Saturday and all, and we definitely have great running backs and a good line. But I was queried by the Big Ten blog on SB Nation about what I thought our chances were against Penn State. And honestly, I hadn't looked that deeply at Penn State at the time. And then I did, and then I said, it would be an amazing upset. And that's putting it as lightly as I can right now.
Yeah, I got called out for my opinions on the football team last week. Conrad Mostiller.
Conrad has a right to call anybody out.
He absolutely does. This matchup won't be as bad as the year when we played Boston College, Wisconsin, and Auburn, all ranked in the top 15 in the same season. But it won't be as bad as when we played Baylor, ranked in the top 10. But those are the matchups that are coming to mind.
We actually played Penn State a few years ago. I think it was Lakatos last year. I'm trying to pull it up right now to see the score.
Saquon Barkley false started on that touchdown run.
Yeah. And I feel that if I recall correctly, we were pretty close until fairly late in the game. Yeah, we only lost 27-14. I mean, I don't know. I know one of my buddies at work went to Penn State, and he's really up to date with them. I know that Penn State's supposed starting quarterback transferred to Mississippi State. Their top receiver transferred to Oregon. They lost their top running back to the NFL, but I mean, they're still ranked number 15. And I mean, they have one of the best home field advantages in the country. I can't imagine if we keep it close, I'll be excited about that. I'll say that. If we get like a showing like we had the last time at Penn State, I'll be pretty content with that. It's hard to imagine us winning. They just have too much talent, top to bottom.
Maybe we're glass half empty here. Maybe this is like a West Virginia basketball situation. They're ranked 15 at the beginning of the season, but they're not really 15.
Hey,
we beat them, and it's like, wow, UB beat the number 15 team in the country, and then what happens to them after that?
With a freshman quarterback.
We're gonna get there, Matt. We're gonna get there, I promise. Yeah, you're right though. They did lose a lot, but Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. Penn State was more a kind of a defensive and line driven team.
Yeah, it feels like they are kind of year-to-year linebacker too. I know they like to call themselves linebacker U. They always have some good linebackers. And they've had some good running backs the past few years. I think some people are high on their running back coming up this year, Ricky Slade. We'll see about that. But they are definitely more of like a running and defensive-oriented team.
And here's where I really want to lean into you, Zach, because you follow the NFL preseason a lot closer. All I've seen is that Tyree's not helping his chances.
Yeah. I actually have been traveling the past couple weekends, so I haven't been able to follow too much, but I have been keeping up on some of the updates, and it seems like it's kind of what we saw from Tyree in college too. He's always good for a couple highlight plays, but then there's a lot of inconsistency, and it seems like that's being highlighted a lot more versus NFL caliber talent from what I've read. So I don't know. I mean, and a lot of NFL teams, most are only carrying 2 quarterbacks right now. So between Josh Allen and Matt Barkley, it doesn't seem like he really has any chance sticking there. Maybe if he can make a practice squad and hang around for a bit, we'll see. But it's too bad he didn't come back for another year.
Yeah.
See, that's what surprised me. Someone was saying that he's even looking like he's not a practice squad quarterback. And
that's what I'm starting to see.
His numbers kind of bear that out. He does have the highlights. You see that. Wow, look at that amazing arm play. But was he 2 for 12 in the first game or something like that?
Yeah.
Against the first string NFL defense.
The second game, I saw that he had a bunch of yards, and then I went and looked, and he was 4 for 10, and a bunch of those yards came on Christian Wade, the rugby player, catching a shorter pass and doing rugby things, which is fun to watch, but it's not. It's just not. It's not there. And I will hold my tongue on something, but maybe we'll save it for the after show.
Mason Shrek had himself a game.
Yeah, and I'm seeing the Cincinnati folks get real excited, saying if he can stay healthy, we're excited about him, which is not how they felt. Not that they were bad on him, not down on him, but I just hadn't seen that enthusiasm for him before.
Well, they treated him like an undrafted free agent. Right? Yeah. I don't think the fans were hard on him, but they said, "Oh, he's can't be," which is a nasty sounding but standard way you kind of say this is a person who is a borderline practice squad talent that we're bringing in to test out. But Shrek is kind of persevered. He got injured, and he stayed with the team, and that says something about the team. Usually, if you're a UDFA and you go down and you miss a lot of time because you're injured, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, Brandon Oliver never got a fair shake after his injury, and he had worked his way up to their starting tailback.
And he had played well, too, for a couple games.
That was also
big games.
That was also an Achilles rupture, right?
It was nasty, but he never got
what was Shrek's injury?
Shake after that.
I want to say
Minnesota in the preseason.
Knee or something. Let's see if I can look it up.
It was Achilles. It was against Minnesota, either Minnesota or Dallas. And he was pushing off, and it was one of the nastiest injuries I've ever seen live on television. It wasn't like blood and gory because it was a tendon.
Are you talking Oliver or Shrek?
He's talking Oliver.
Yeah, Oliver is one of those ones where you see the muscle ripple underneath the skin. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just looked it up, and Shrek was a knee injury. I can't find what it specifically it was, but
yeah, he looked really good in that last preseason game. I can't think who they were playing, but
yeah,
well, he on the backfield, nice and smooth, read the play well,
shot to tackle.
Yep, Yeah, and got the first down. Like knew where everything was. So hopefully Shrek will get there. I haven't followed too much closely what's going on in the preseason just because life has been kind of hectic. But with the preseason wrapping down, we will be putting more updates on the site as to who looks like they may stick and who won't. Who might be playing the football in Japan or China.
Well, hey, the XFL announced. So.
Yeah, I saw Buffman. Buffman is apparently contractually obligated to root for.
There's a surprising lack of team names ending in X and Z in the XFL. I was expecting, destroyers with a Z and stuff like that, and it's not what happened.
We need the XFL. You know what? Not every hero wears a cape. I'm excited about the XFL. I'm excited about players. I feel bad every time a minor league football program folds in the United States because I think that's what we're missing. Part of what I really like about college athletics is the idea of college kids getting an education, doing athletics, having some glory while they're there. And I think if you could have a proper minor league for football like you have for baseball, you could remove so many of the pressures that are on college football right now to pay or agents and all this stuff can go away and be like, look, if you want to be a professional football player, go play.
Mm-hmm.
Draft out of high school, go to the NFL Developmental League or the XFL or whatever. But I'm not going to open that can of worms right now because that's like a 3 hours.
Yeah.
And we are actually on pace for a change. All right. Let's see if this takes us off. We're going to talk soccer next. A lot of good soccer news. It's not that the men have come back, unfortunately. But the women more than hold their own year after year. Last year was a down year. And to get to what Matt said, our down years are no longer embarrassing. All right, Matt. 5 and 6, 11 and 8, 7th seed in the MAC tournament. And they gave Ball State more than a little trouble.
Well, the problem there is that when Ball State is the 1 seed, they lose to the 8 seed. It happened 3 times in a 5-year stretch. And the problem was that someone beat Ball State and wasted the loss in the regular season. And, Ball State is notoriously flaky in that first round of the MAC tournament, which is great. It's a confidence booster going into this season. I should go back and check what their spring season was like, because that's usually compared to other exhibition seasons. Soccer in particular really gets to use the spring season to work on their underclassmen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, prior to Burke, there was only one stretch since joining the MAC where we had made the MAC tournament 2 years in a row, and we've made the MAC tournament every year under Burke.
It's just really night and day.
We're a little spoiled because that first year was just so perfect, but so on the spring side, the spring season, they played Bonaventure, Canisius, Mercyhurst, and Binghamton, and some others. They scored 20 goals while giving up only 2.
Wow.
They returned 3 of the top 4 scores. We knew that. Say it again?
Now they're picked to finish 4th this year in the conference, which is that sweet spot. You get to the top 4, then anything can happen.
Yeah, you get that home game. You get that home game on that Thursday of the MAC tournament. And you see what happens, especially with so many teams in the MAC. It's an upset-filled tournament. Mm-hmm. Oh, look at that! It looks like last year the I don't know if I should be happy about this or not. Looks like the press release from last spring about this was written by Carly Zuccali, who was on the team at the time. That's a Sean Smiley type situation. Yeah. I want to find a spring season thing. Will they have it for me? I bet you they won't.
I thought the first game was this Thursday at Navy. Matt corrected me. They've already played an exhibition.
Well, exhibition. Navy's the regular season start.
Okay. So tomorrow at Navy, I don't know if that's going to be streaming on UB site or ESPN3 or anything like that.
It's actually on through the Navy's conference.
Nice.
Right.
The Patriot League, right?
Yeah, Patriot League Network. I click on a link and it takes me to watchstadium.com. Mm-hmm. And It's got a live schedule for the next week or so of about 20 things, all women's soccer, field hockey. Unclear if it costs money or not yet, but I sure as hell hope it doesn't. Although we're going to bingo tomorrow, so I probably won't watch the game. But
if you're in Buffalo, the first home game is going to be on the 6th of September. And soccer games at UB are fun. We had a conversation last year about that's where it's easy to sneak beer in.
Sure.
Don't tell anyone. The big thing that I took away was that they were returning 15 players who started games last year.
Yeah, it's an experienced group, sure.
I mean, like I said, they use the spring to work on the underclassmen, but 15 returning players who have started that. Fourth feels like underselling it a bit. I'm not gonna say this is the year we'll dominate or anything. The MAC is pretty strong in women's soccer, but
yeah, I mean 5 and 6 to a 4 seed. I wouldn't feel comfortable going higher than 3rd or 4th. It does feel like we're primed for a big improvement, but there is a question of how big. And somebody picked us to win the tournament, and so that's nice.
Yep.
It's very kind of them.
We're going to wrap up with softball. Wrap up the spring sport coverage. Now, Matt and I are having a discussion before we get on. The UB site does not list any exhibition games yet for tennis. Usually there are fall exhibition games. And if there would be, there'd be slides here on how great tennis has been for the past, 7 years, 8 years, Matt. I mean, women's tennis won a championship back in 2007.
Yeah, they were the first championship. Ooh.
I don't remember a really bad year by tennis. There have been, again, down-ish years.
Yeah. On the women's side, no. On the men's side, there have been slightly lower downs, but both programs for the last 4 years for sure have been 1-2 every year in the MAC.
Yeah.
But it's been longer than that they've been title contenders every year. They've really got both coaches have good systems in place for sure. And the fall is usually, I like the fall in tennis just as much as the spring. It is exhibitions, but it's more individual minded. So you get these bracket style individual tournaments that are a lot of fun to follow. And I can't imagine they're not doing it. I just
When will the new tennis center be complete? I know they broke ground and they're working on it. Will it be in place
I don't
by
know.
the spring or okay? We don't know.
I'm glad that they finally stopped. I should admit that this is scuttlebutt and not knowledge, but the last that I was paying attention to stuff, they were holding off on fieldhouse work so that they could finish the tennis thing first, and it seems like that is no longer the case.
That doesn't sound right at all. I know.
I mean, I'm talking 18 months ago.
Yeah,
a long time ago.
I had heard something under the table, and this gets into the ugly, nasty politics and personal agendas that are in any large organization. But there was some worry about what order they finish them in to keep people's feelings in check. And as much as I don't like that, I understand that's just going to happen whenever you have an organization. But I do know that the ground is broken. They're building it up near the Ellicott complex, which that's the only thing I'm not thrilled about. I wish it was closer to the spine or closer to alumni. But that's where the land is.
I think it did help in True Blue. We had a couple of big matches that they had us blow out, and people would come by and underclassmen would come by and stop by for a little bit and stuff. I think it did help get students there. I think it's a nice day in the spring. Kids will hop out of their dorm to go watch tennis, but they won't cross the campus to go watch.
I never thought about it like that. That's actually kind of a neat thing then. I hope that works out to drive some interest because they are, like Matt said, past 4 years. 1-2 in the conference. They're always in the mix. Each has been to the tournament at least once, right?
Yeah. We've got I'm not going to be able to pull it up easy. I think men have won the MAC twice in the last 4 or 5 years.
Once.
The women have done it at least once. I'm trying to remember if the men are 2 or 3 and if the women are 1 or 2.
Okay.
Both. The men had to play Ohio State the same year that women's basketball had to play Ohio State.
I think the women had to play UCLA, if I remember right.
The women had to play UCLA in their first ever tournament, and they might have had to do it again. That's right. That sounds right. If I had time to prepare instead of putting eardrops in a cat, I would have this information.
How is Zelda doing?
She's good. She's good. She had to go to the vet yesterday, and so she's pretty grumpy with us. But but it was better today. We have lots of toys now, so
as long as the cat's very far from me, I'm good.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean we've won championships in tennis in the last few years, and I wish. Let me do it this way.
They've been playing at the Northtown Center, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I really hope they get this thing built, because you have the championship teams playing a non-revenue sport, an Olympic sport that doesn't generally draw a lot of outside interest unless you're right there, and they're playing off campus. So,
So the men won in 2017 and 2015.
Okay, that sounds right.
And that 2015 was finally breaking through after tons and tons of
second place finishes. It seems like every year.
Like being the top seed, or having this run. Let me check the women's tennis. They've streamlined some of their record book links, and that is annoying as well. Full screen. And the women, so the men have 2 since 2015, but they've been consistently, and the women have a less happily formatted. The women won in 2018, and they were dominant. I think they went undefeated in MAC play that year. That's right. The women were undefeated in MAC play in 2018 and won. They won in 2017. They were undefeated. Oh, no, they had a couple losses in MAC play, but they won in 2017 with that big run from not a great seed. And then, so both have 2 since 2015.
Yeah, so I guess the takeaway here is when tennis does eventually put their exhibition games out there, go have fun.
Yeah, that got a little more dragged out.
All right, well, that gives us time to talk about softball, which is Matt's favorite sport to talk about. And by favorite, I mean it's the one in which we feel like the school is most failing the student athletes in general.
Yeah,
so
that's the way I would like to put it. Yeah.
In 2019, they finished 9th in the conference, just missed out on the MAC tournament, which would have been a huge victory for them because softball year over year is bad. And the reason they're bad is because, we'll start with bad facilities, which I was thrilled to read in the Buffalo News that it's on Mark Alden's radar that they really got to fix that. They have a drainage issue, and to be fair, to be in the North and play softball or baseball is very challenging in college because the season generally runs from February to early June. And that's not, as you can imagine, the best time when snow's melting to be playing. But every team in the MAC manages to at least have a drainable field. Other than us, we have a swimming pool that occasionally dries out. Their first exhibition game is in mid-September against St. Bonaventure, and beating St. Bonaventure is always fun.
We did beat them last year, which is that's what I've been looking for in softball. It seems like we can typically beat some of the other Big Four schools, which is nice.
And I think that's what that's kind of the if you look at it, that's kind of the tack we took in hoops as well, and other sports, men's soccer. You dominate the local market first, and aside from struggling against St. Bonaventure, UB has owned Canisius and Niagara going back, basically a decade. We've lost a game here and there, but so hopefully they can start to get things together. Hopefully they get some funding in place to improve that field.
I will say I only know this from social media, but they've got 2 incoming freshmen who just were on the Canadian team at the U19 World Cup.
I did see that on the site, and
that's lovely. That's great. I hope they're impact folks. It makes me a little sad because the last time we had someone come from that team, she transferred after a year. We had a really great year with a number of great freshmen, and 3 of them transferred all at once. Which also, something that I always want to say is that we should be recruiting Canada so much more than we do. So much more than we do, because in terms of proximity to the largest population, what is it? 60% of Canadians live within 100 miles of Lake Ontario. Like, it's nuts. It's like us.
Wow.
It's us, Niagara and Canisius have access to one of the largest population centers in the continent. And we've had success in different sports pulling folks down from Canada. And this is not limited to softball. It's just softball's where I got here tonight. We should just do that more.
Yeah, Toronto's what, the third or fourth largest metro area now on the continent?
New York, on the continent, New York,
LA.
New York, LA, Mexico City, Toronto, I think are going to be the top four.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's just so much. And we see it in football. We see some hoops guys getting recruited up there, but
Chicago's larger than Toronto.
Yeah, but I mean, Chicago calls the entire state of Illinois Chicagoland, so I never count them.
Well, I'm going by whatever the census area.
You're right. I'm trying to cover up.
Fair enough. I mean, it's still true. I mean, it's listed as 6 million people here. Like, we can only pull so much from New York City.
Yeah, and plus when you get into New York City, you're then competing with other Northeast schools.
Yeah.
Whereas Toronto's what, a 2-hour drive from Buffalo. I mean, we are the closest United States metro area to them, and college sports in the U.S. are so much better than Canada. No offense to Canadians.
Well, it's just a different. That year that I was following women's soccer, I was talking to some of the parents, Julie Benatti and Laura Dougal's parents, and it's just a different. If you're competitive in sports in Canada, you're playing for club teams. Mm-hmm. You're playing for academies, not schools, but like sports academies. If you ever see in kind of the let's brag about our incoming freshmen, them talk about winning provincial championships and things, that's just kind of like not the serious athletes aren't really competing there to be serious. Like both.
The sum is here. We want a new softball field.
Yeah, and we want Canadians we want more Canadians, but it is a different vibe. A lot of basically
more stability with coaching.
And more stability with coaching. Yeah. On softball, yeah. It's I will say, as much as volleyball has a similar kind of, they're about the same every year, they have been consistent, and we did have stability with coaching that, frankly, when Blair Brown-Lipsis was hired, I did not expect.
She did very well for the program. I remember her being hired. We all kind of took a step back because we went from Reed, who was an experienced. I mean, it was kind of the Danny White hire, respected, tied into everybody. Yeah, and we went to she had just graduated from Penn State.
Another type of Danny White hire. She had been running her own elite camp for 2 or 3 years, but it was a camp. It wasn't a club team or anything.
Yeah,
but softball needs. It just needs more.
I don't know how, and I understand that when you prioritize sports and you're trying to grab the interest in Buffalo, that softball might be one of the ones that falls through the cracks. But if you're going to do it, what was it when Ward Manuel came to Buffalo and looked at the football program and said, look, if you're going to do it right. Like, at least try to do it, or just don't. And we've already shown that a program could be dropped that swings bats at balls, and apparently we don't fall out of the conference. And I just hope that we can get softball going in a better direction. Speaking of baseball, Tom Murphy is awesome. Go Twitter Tom Murphy. Click the video tab and just watch the man who has destroyed pitchers now this year. He's hit 6 home runs in his last 4 games.
Oh, that's fun.
And he's doing cartwheels now. And when he flipped, it's Seattle loves him. I'm so glad he got out of.
I'm watching now. Oh.
Yeah.
This is me watching Tom Murphy hit home runs.
We can sit here. Wow. There's a lot of but no, Tom Murphy was UB's greatest baseball player of the modern era, bar none. Might be the greatest ever. I don't know that for sure. But spent years languishing in Colorado, where they kept sending him down to AAA, bringing him up for a couple of games, sending him back down. He's been in Seattle for 6 months and is now one of the better hitting catchers in the American League. So it's go Tom. And with that, we are only 5 minutes behind, which for us has to be seriously some kind of record.
Yeah.
We're going to go over to housekeeping. Housekeeping this week is just us saying that starting tomorrow, the story stream for footballs goes up. We are going to begin to drive stories. We have a rather ambitious publishing schedule. We won't always 100% keep to it because we are people with lives. I gotta stop saying The big thing is when we get to game threads, there was a discussion around this both off the air last week, and it's been a constant theme for the past couple years. And I actually went back and watched a very old episode of Bulls and Beers where I tried to tackle some of the problems we were having. Long story short, back in the day, our game threads were epic. Our game threads were getting 300 to 900 comments. It was people having a good time. And this is when the team was terrible. This is Jeff Quinn taking the team to 2-10. And we were not sniping at each other. We were not sniping at players. A few people who shall remain nameless-ish got onto game threads starting when Joe Licata and the team started playing well in 2013, and losing a game felt bad. It didn't feel like, it's Saturday, let's go lose a game. And they began sniping at players, and they began sniping at other Bull Run users. And the game threads dropped from 500 comments to 300 comments to 100 comments to basically me saying, please, let's talk, people. And I don't care what the number of comments is that we get in the game thread. It's not one of the ways I measure, are we fun place to be? But come back. We've gotten rid of them. I have banned several users last year who started fights over losing bowl games. On Twitter, went out and went completely nuts on other people because we lost a bowl game, or people who used to call out Joe Licata, who was a decent to very good quarterback for us, just not an NFL star. Follow the coverage this week. Get involved. Hit the comments up. I'm going to be working to help reconstruct what we used to have, which was a fun sports bar-like environment where if you end up being the loud drunk in the room picking fights with people, I will show you where the door is. I hope to see you guys in the comments this week. Matt, Zach, you got anything to add?
It's football season, almost.
It's football season.
It's ready for fun.
Yeah, we do. At work, we start all our staff meetings with a rotation of what are you excited about this week, which gets old. But I've got one coworker who's been saying it's football season since like 2 weeks before Redskins training camp started, and so that was a while ago.
Oh, speaking of, we got to switch back to football. I wasn't on the slide, so we missed it. UB has a new starting quarterback.
We do.
I was both shocked and amazed that they named a quarterback before game day, or before at least the game notes came out, and that it was Matt Myers, which is kind of serving me up a lot of crow because all of my coverage on the quarterback situation all year has been like, oh, it's going to be Van Treese or Johnson. It's got to be Myers is an outside shot, but you're not going to see him. And according to Braunstein, Matt Myers has floated to the top. And I'm hoping this is kind of the staff learning from the Albany game and the Rohak, Tyree Jackson situation where they went with the the grad student transfer over the freshman, and we ended up losing the game because Rohak was just terrible at Buffalo. Just not a great quarterback at UB. Probably a good quarterback at Iowa State. Great guy, but just did nothing for us offensively. So they're making the bold move. We'll have more on that through the week and into next week's Bulls and Beers, which will be pretty much all UB football unless like a new stadium's announced for softball. promise. All right, for Matt and Zach, unless you guys got anything to add, this will be our sign off. Go Bulls. Talk to you guys all later.